Let's take a look at some of the elements whose meaning has changed in HTML5. You can see that there are a few of them, and while the changes to their meaning may be subtle, they're important. So let's look at them one at a time. We begin with the address tag. The address tag should be used for contact details of the author and not for general postal addresses. You can now have more than one address tag in a document, typically one for each article. And the address tag can consist of any kind of address at all, email, postal, or anything else. So an address tag markup might look something like this. The site tag is now more constrained than it had been, and technically you are no longer supposed to use it to mark up the name of a speaker. Rather, you're to use it to mark the publication that's being cited. However, this constraint is controversial, and there are many HTML5 experts who say it should be ignored. The DL tag is used for terms and descriptions, and so a classic usage is as a glossary. Each term is surrounded by DT tags, and each description by DD tags. Many HTML5 experts are now extending the DL tag to any name-value pair, although that's more controversial. A subtle distinction has been introduced between the EM and I tag, where the EM tag is used when you're subtly changing the meaning of a statement. The I tag is used for technical terms and ship names and other text, to quote the spec, whose typical typographic presentation is italicized. And so in this example, you might read it as, no, my name is Liberty, but that's a Liberty ship. The HR tag has become somewhat more controversial, and there are some HTML5 experts who are saying it shouldn't be used. Its classic use is to create a horizontal rule, and that's still true. The OL tag has been modified to have two new attributes that you can add. One is the start attribute that allows you to determine what number the counting will begin at. The other is the reversed attribute, which reverses the count, but be careful here. As of this time, this is not implemented in any browser, so this might be something to tuck in your back pocket as browsers evolve towards HTML5. The S tag has changed in a very subtle way. It used to be used to indicate a strike-through. It's now used more semantically to indicate content that is no longer accurate or relevant. Of course, it's perfectly appropriate to implement that in the UI with a strike-through. Similarly, the small tag no longer means make the print small, but semantically it refers to the quote-unquote small print that you would see in legal documents. And of course you can implement that with a smaller font size. A subtle distinction has been introduced between strong and B. Strong indicates importance. B indicates bold without indicating importance. To quote from the spec, the B element, quote, represents a span of text in which attention is being drawn for utilitarian purposes without conveying any extra importance and with no implication of an alternative voice or mood. In this module, we took a look at semantic markup and examined what we mean by semantic markup and how semantic markup can contribute to a better web page or application. We then looked at the elements that have been added to enhance semantic markup and the changes to existing elements for the same reason. And we briefly looked at a couple elements that have been deprecated.